I actually really do like working with my hands. I like a little variety. I like talking to people I'm working and
this isn't what you studied in college.
Oh my gosh, no. So in college, I studied sports medicine.
Yeah, you did.
Like, I see similarities because I do love working with people. And I love the human body. Like, as odd as that sounds, like, just how we work and function and move. It's so fascinating to me. But that's the thing is, like, you can see all these different tangential elements of what you kind of like and move it into something that works for your situation at the time.
Life gets easier if we figure it out together. Welcome to The Lisa Show.
Okay, I'm here with my sister, Gina. And Gina, I want to tell you this story of a conversation that I had with one of my friends that I can't stop thinking about. And then I need you to know, I need to know your opinion on it, okay? So I was talking to my friend and we were having lunch and just kind of catching up. And this friend has, 4 kids and is really busy. But had said over lunch, just kind of in a moment when we were just talking about, how's life? Like, how are you doing really? That kind of conversation that you have with your friends. And she said something like, well, so my youngest is now going to be in school, so I think I might have a little bit more time. Her husband had been in a really busy career. And so she had kind of been supporting him and, starting a family. And that's a busy phase of life. And so she was saying, I can feel that things are starting to open up again, up a little bit. My husband is established in his job. And so his hours are much better, easier for family and support. And my kids are older, so they're all in school. So it's not just as, the crazy and chaos of having a baby or a toddler where, they need you so much. And she was saying, so I feel like I should do something, but I don't know what. And so I kind of joked around because you don't know what people like. Is that an offer for, suggestions or just the listening ear? And so I started making suggestions and I was like, well, do you need to make money? Do you need to go back to work? Do you want to? Do you want to continue this? Do you want to go back to school? What about your hobbies and interests? Do you want to volunteer somewhere? And what do you feel really passionately about that you feel like sort of either called to do or thought, oh, this would be so fun? Or, this is a great opportunity, especially if you have, if you have the privilege of not having to worry about money, then everything's on the table, and not, they're, middle class, but still it is a privilege. Most people need to work,
totally.
like that, like acknowledging that, most people, need to work full time. But if you don't have to, or if you want to keep your expenses down and you could do anything, my brain was whirling with all the things that she could do, or I put myself into her place, ooh, what if I were in that position, what would I do? And that kind of stuff. But the conversation didn't go that way. She said, I don't know. I don't know what I like. And I said, oh, come on. Yes, you do. You're good at this or that, and I started listing things. She's like, I don't know if I like that though. I just do it. And anyway, we ended lunch and I've thought about that conversation a lot lately because it kind of, bothered me. It made me unsettled. How do you not know what you like? But then I tried to put myself into her shoes and be a little bit more empathetic, and she's been so focused on serving, her kids and focused on that. And she's really a kind person and is aware of other people, and which is great, which is not nothing. That is wonderful. But I thought, I wonder if that hyper-focus then has her that she doesn't know, what a hobby, developing that time into it. And so how do you figure out what you like?
Well, the first thing I was thinking while you were telling me that is, because I do the same thing. When I'm speaking to someone, I'm like, oh, but I see this in you. And I think sometimes—
Yeah, but when I was going down that road, it wasn't what she was asking for.
Right. But I think in the context of this whole thing, what do you like? What do you do? Sometimes it's easier for other people to see kind of what your strengths are than it is for us to see what it is.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a component of that that's oh, to figure out what you really do like, sometimes it is helpful to get that outside input. you know,
Yeah,
to
no,
have other people
absolutely.
say,
Has somebody
"Oh,
done
this
that for
is what-"
you?
Yeah.
You should do this.
Yeah. Oh, a ton of people. Well, and I've solicited some because I found myself in a similar situation when a few years ago, my husband was kind of between jobs and we were transitioning, kind of, looking for maybe a little career shift
No,
for
it was a
him.
hard time.
It was a really hard time. But my what do I do next was a little bit more informed by, oh, well, I need to help a little bit more financially with the family. And so I just took a part-time job and that was different. But now as we've kind of gone, fast forward several years, I've kind of tried a few different things.
Okay,
And
so it reminds
yeah,
refreshing
okay.
my memory.
So when I started, it was funny. There was a part-time job. I was just looking for just something during school hours so that, all my kids were in school. And so I just had these few hours that I wanted to make sure that I could still, attend to them when they came home. And this job kind of fell in my lap. A friend of mine who, I don't even know how she knew I was looking. I think she just randomly asked because they were looking for people at this job, but knew I had sewing experience. And it was for a golf company that made leather goods for, golf club head covers and things like that. So just completely random.
That's so random.
It was so random. But really
you know
felt
how to sew.
I do, but I wasn't even sewing. I was literally, they needed someone to cut leather, which is such it was like a factory job, a baseline job. But I was like, it's during school hours, and I knew the people that own the company. And so,
And they're funny.
and it was funny. And I was like, it was literally across the street from my kids' school. So I'm like, this is kind of, it just actually felt like a real blessing because we needed a little bit of extra money and it was right there and it was great hours. So I took that job and the thing is but I love working with my hands.
I know.
I love working with materials. It wasn't fabric or whatever, which is fine. But leather is awesome. Which is so dumb
what?
to say. But
Leather is awesome, Gina.
I've
never stopped to think about it. But you know what? Leather is awesome. No, this is just so funny to me because I've never thought about leather, care about leather.
No one does.
I wouldn't know how to cut leather. I guess just like regular fabric.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, no, it's
No, I know. I'm wrong. Gina, tell me how I'm wrong.
It's really interesting because, anyway, we could get into a whole side conversation about
But you
natural
liked
materials.
it. That's the important
I liked
point.
it, and it made me realize, oh my gosh, I actually really do like working with my hands. I like a little variety. I like talking to people I'm working. And
this isn't what you studied in college.
Oh my gosh, no. So in college, I studied sports medicine.
Yeah, you did.
Totally different. But I see similarities because I do love working with people. And I love the human body, as odd as that sounds, just how we work and function and move. It's so fascinating to me. But that's the thing is you can see all these different tangential elements of what you kind of like and move it into something that works for your situation at the time. At least for me, it worked for me.
Yeah, it wasn't oh, I hate this.
No, not at all.
It was this is great.
Yeah. But then looking ahead, I was well, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life.
Right.
And it is it was physical labor. So you can only kind of do so many hours, just at least I could, because I couldn't do it as a full-time because it's very physical to,
I don't
move
know.
your arm
Yeah,
and cut leather.
no,
you have to push hard and you have to move these big rolls of cowhide. it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I imagine.
Yeah. And so looking ahead, I was well, this isn't a second career that I'm going to do, because I always kind of imagined after my kids were in school, I would go back and have a second career and do something. But again, to your point, it's well, what do you like to do? Plus, what do you, need to do as far as helping with the family finances and everything?
Yeah,
there's a lot of considerations.
That's a really good point because I think if it's not like when we were little kids and people were like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" and it could be anything. But I know some people hate that question and think, "Don't ask your kids that. Don't put them in a little box. They don't know what's going to happen." I do think the better question is to ask them, "What do you love doing?"
Yeah, what are you interested in?
When you don't have to do anything, what do you find yourself doing? And
well, don't ask that question because the answer is a nap.
well, but
it's
but all of that stuff. No, but
Yeah,
that's a good point because all of that stuff contributes to what do you like to do and at what time of life?
Right.
And that will inform your career, your hobbies, your interests, what you do when you have 20 minutes to spare, what you have to do
Right.
when you have 10, and so it's not just one thing.
I think the more that you identify all the things, then you can kind of pick and choose because I mean, people say, well, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, guess what? You do have to work. Like sometimes you do have to do mundane things. Like I know.
I asked my son Miles, like I was talking to my oldest, when he changed his major several times, and it was computer science, and then it was commercial music, and then it was English, and it's Japanese translation. It's like all over the place. And I said, listen, it's in the future. You're an adult. What do you do? You wake up to your greatest day. What do you do? What do you, if you could describe the perfect day? And he was saying, oh, I'd love to live in a little cabin in the woods with a stack of books and wake up and just read all those books. And I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
So
back that up.
How do you
figure out how you can support yourself in the cabin?
Right.
And how good is your Wi-Fi access? Because you're going to need to be connected to the world in some way.
And my daughter Phoebe was a little concerned because she's like, you just described the Unabomber. So let's also make sure that we have social interaction as well. So
right.
We know you're an introvert, but also you should talk to people sometime during the day.
Right. Well,
but it is about a full life. We're not just talking about you are what you do for a living. But if you're going to spend a lot of time doing that, what are you going to do? And I also do, like you say, think that some of your hobbies or interests or whatever spill out right into other parts of your life. Because I take a step back and I think, man, the career that I have now grew out of my hobbies, not
totally.
But it also was sort of an offshoot of what I studied in college, which was English, but just took me on a
little bit different path.
Regimented.
Yes, you have to be able to think, like I said, kind of tangentially, like rays from the sun, right? There's a lot of different ways that it can go out from your core interests. So you have your core interest, and then there's just a lot of shoots off of that. Now, it's interesting because kind of to that point, like Miles was talking about, so my husband, he loves being outdoors. He is an outdoors guy. So skiing, mountain biking, climbing, all that stuff. That is his traversing mountains. He just loves it. But he recognized at an early age, he's not going to be a professional cyclist. He's not going to be a professional, mountain guide. He knew that. So he has his education. He, works, but he's identified and build his career so that he does work that he enjoys and works with people, and does some technical stuff. It's a good mix for him. But he's chosen the company and the career and the lifestyle that still allows him time to do his hobbies that fill his soul. So between the two, he's fulfilling everything. You can do, his job, which is not his, he's, like I said, his gym job would be like a professional cyclist. Well, that would have been over because he's too old now. And, anyway, there's a whole list of reasons why that wouldn't work. But he's still able to do the things that he, loves.
Yeah, you're working
so
to,
there's a way,
to live.
Yeah, working to live. So there's a way to, balance that in thinking kind of what's the next steps. And that's kind of what I feel like I'm currently doing because I enjoy the work I do. I enjoy the work, the people that I have.
Okay, so now fast forward to how you
leather,
got.
So so you want the whole story?
I do.
Okay.
I'm interested.
So leather shop, right? And recognizing that I was like, wow, this isn't really setting me up for in the future, right? Long term. And I had worked really closely with the school, volunteering a ton, and I was on the board of our public charter school. So I'd gotten to know a lot of the people in the school. And so when our son was in kindergarten, I went to work as a paraprofessional part-time. I went to kindergarten with him. And I was an assistant to the teacher at the school.
For him. Every son's dream.
Every son. Well, I was in the other kindergarten class. There were 2 morning classes, and I was in the other morning class. So because I specifically didn't want to be in his class because I wanted him to grow and blossom on his own without the overshadowing of his mother. But I would see him at recess and stuff. It was cute. And so that kind of put my foot a little bit in the education to go, do I want to maybe go back and get a teaching certificate? I had a college degree, so you can kind of tweak that a little bit and go for licensure and things. But it was interesting. I thought I would because I do love teaching, and I always grew up thinking I'd be a teacher like you and our mom and our dad.
Well, we're fourth generation teachers on both sides.
There's a lot of teaching.
Yeah.
And just the rigors of that, I recognized. And maybe it was the kindergarten. Maybe it was, that I wasn't in charge.
I don't know. I'll tell you. I taught junior high and high school, and I remember after my second year of teaching thinking, okay, so I can do this for 5 years. But it's so physically and mentally taxing. I don't know, if I can do this for 30 years.
Teachers are amazing, and I think they get
Spoiler,
in that rhythm. Spoiler, you're not teaching in a traditional classroom
In a traditional classroom sense.
Anyway. But I recognized in myself, and here's the main thing. I like a little freer schedule. I don't want to just go somewhere and have to be there for 7 hours and then leave. I like a little flexibility. And so recognizing that then helped me make the next step, which was not be a paraprofessional or a teacher.
Yeah.
But then it kind of worked into making connections with different people and a different job. So I work for the Charter School Association in Utah, and I do communications now for them. I was hired to help with some training and then worked into
teaching.
Communications. Yeah. And so So I get to do what I love, which is I really enjoy working with schools. I think I love seeing classrooms full of school children. I love seeing kids at recess. And I love supporting the people that work directly with them to make that happen.
Yeah, being a support.
Being the support.
It's important.
Yeah, and especially I'm a real proponent of school choice. And so just having those options with a couple different public school options. I'm great with people having their homeschooling options and their private school options. A way to support all education because I am passionate about the fact that children should be educated. We need an educated populace.
Yeah.
So I love that is something that I'm able to do and help. But I have a pretty flexible schedule. I am able to do a huge variety of things. We do events, and I do social media, and I do contacts directly with schools, and I do help out with some training. And so
it really
so
does
it's everything. It kind of encompasses everything.
Yeah, and also there's so many aspects to it and how you live your life that do play to your strengths and your interests, I'm just thinking of going back to that original story, how do you know what you're interested in? It's you just follow that. You follow that passion, wherever it is. You love classrooms full of kids. Well, there's a million different ways that could, you could have an influence on that, or you like teaching and you like presenting, you love people, you like variety, that kind of stuff, knowing that stuff about yourself. I mean, it's so important because it's not just about what you do for a living, but it's how you're living your life and how you're doing it thoughtfully and intentionally. And certainly, I think everyone can relate to, I just had to take this job because I had to take this job, right? And that feeling.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a lot of, jobs like that where I'm I needed the money and this was exactly what I needed to do at this time, and great. And yeah, it's not forever, and that's okay too. And a lot of that plays into your socioeconomic, situation, or if you have a partner or not, that's offsetting, bills and things like that. Of course, there's a million things that do it, but I think everybody can be intentional, sometimes I felt, I don't know, a little stuck in certain situations throughout my life. Is this what I should be doing? Or da-da-da? And I think that's normal. I mean, I think, you have your good days and your bad days. But when you feel like you're the one choosing it and it's not just happening to you, I think it makes all the difference.
It makes a huge difference. And even if you are kind of in a situation where you're oh, I can't leave this job, it's so good, or the benefits are good, or, something. But there's a way to, I don't know, frame it in your own head to make it more of a positive. And also look at what you're currently doing and saying, okay, so this is what I need to be doing now, but how can what I'm doing within this job or this situation, how can it help me maybe springboard into something in the future? So you can kind of work on something that way. I think.
Are you doing that now?
Well, a little bit. Well, and I think of a situation, it was so funny. So after I graduated from college, my husband still had a couple of years left. But I wasn't able to find a job in our local area just that was going to work for us. And we were looking for an adventure. And again, another situation kind of fell in our lap. And we ended up moving from Utah to Ohio. and starting a window covering business. And so then my husband was going to finish up at school out in Ohio. He just had a couple of years of college left, and he was going to be the salesman and run this. It was a new satellite location. And we knew a group of investors that asked us to go and start this. And I did I was going to do I did all the books and all the scheduling and all the office stuff, which I had to learn how to do. I mean, I didn't go to college for accounting, And it was just the most random experience. But we lived there for about 2 years and then recognized that this wasn't the path for us.
Yeah.
But I will tell you what, in that little interruption of, education and kind of being away from family and just numerous situations, that helped my husband's career specifically when he did finish school. He had all this managerial experience. He had all this sales experience. He had all this other experience. And then when we came back and I got a job full-time while he was finishing up college, I had all this office experience. And it's just so interesting
cool.
how you can take these things that you kind of feel like you have to do. Like we needed a job after I graduated, kind of trying to move forward. And even if it doesn't turn out the way that you originally thought it would, those experiences can still inform the things that you're going to do later.
Yeah, it's never like a wasted experience.
Never wasted. And we actually have some really good friends that we made there that we're still friends with 20 years later. So it's like you have to look at the holistic experience of it and see.
Yeah, it's not ever just one thing.
And it's so funny. I think back to my time there. And so it was just the two of us. We didn't have children yet. And we were just working. And we were working together all day. So in the evenings, we're like, so I've been with you all day. I know what's going on. So I went and took.
What's new?
I know. So I was like, I want to work on something and help my interests. So I went and took a quilting class.
Did you really?
I did.
I forgot that.
Yeah, I took a hand quilting class. And I learned so much about just the craft of making a quilt, which again, this is me. I love sewing. I love fabric. I love it all.
And I don't get it, and I don't understand it.
I know, and it's fine. And it's not
so
something
cool.
you want to do, which is great.
It just stresses me out to even think about it. So I love that you do it because
I love
it's so opposite to my interests.
I know, it's so random.
It's so random. But it's beautiful. It's an art form.
But I was able to have the time to do that, identifying, okay, I do have some time now because, I don't have a lot of obligations outside of the work that I'm doing. And that served me in the future. That has helped me.
And served me.
Yeah.
Because I got a beautiful handmade quilt
that's when
for
I
each
started
one of my children.
Yeah, I started making baby quilts at that time. And so I just think there's so many experiences that we have and things that we have to do and things we choose to do that can all, push us forward and help us really figure out those things. And some of my interests have changed, obviously. And so I think kind of going back to the original question of how do you know, I think you have to try different things.
Yeah.
You have to kind of inventory yourself and try different things.
Because don't you know so many people who, I don't know, I feel like this is a thing that are so obsessed with, and rightfully so, for their education and career. And that's the thing, that they don't have time for sort of hobbies. Or they're so concerned with raising kids and taking care of that, that they don't have any hobbies. There's a million reasons why you can be focused on something really good. But I feel like hobbies and just doing things for fun and not as a side hustle or to make money off of it or for it to become the thing has sort of fallen by the wayside. And I feel like I'm very Gen X
it totally
when I talk about
has.
Everyone's on their phones for social media when they should be working on their hobbies. And I know how that sounds, but I also
I would I'm going to switch out the word hobbies to creative pursuits.
Oh, all right.
Well,
why? Why the semantics?
No.
Because we gotta have a rebranding.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I'll tell you why.
Right.
Because people think hobbies and they're like my toll painting or my quilting or grandma-y things.
Yeah, but you like
No, I love it. No, for me, you can call them hobbies for me all day long.
Oh, okay.
I don't even care. It's fine. And I'll try them all. And when you think hobbies, it does put it in the way where people think it's artistic and everybody's like, oh, I'm not an artist. I can't do this. I can't do this.
They just think of the top 5 things.
Yeah. So if you put it as creative pursuits, then I think it can be because then it kind of broadens it, I think. Because some people go, well, no, my quote unquote hobby is taking really great pictures for my Instagram, which does, I think, fulfill a little bit of that, does fulfill your creative,
I follow a lot of photography accounts.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not good at it and I love to see people who are.
But I think too, it just gives like people a little bit more permission to expand kind of what they think would be something fun and exciting for them to do, like on the side or to serve themselves. I don't know.
Do you feel pressure though to monetize your creative pursuits? Or
No,
did you?
I did. I did at one point because I was like, oh,
I
if I
did
sew
for a
so
long
much,
time, and now
I
I've
should
let
do
myself
like,
off the hook.
Yeah, I should do like an Etsy shop, or I should do something, because I'm making stuff, but it's like you can only make so many pillows and drapes for your own house. I mean, you can swap it out and stuff, but and
Fashion changes.
yeah, fashion changes. Well, I did a lot of dresses for the girls when they were little, but they would like wear them twice and then be like, meh. So
Yeah.
so now I just do stuff that I want to do.
When did you get to the place where you were like, I just like doing this and I'm just going to do it. Who cares?
I got to the point when, just a few years ago, when I was really limited on time because I
didn't have
was
any time.
working part-time because I don't have time. So it's like, what do I really want to do? What do I enjoy doing? And again, it's so funny. Just in the last year, kind of since the pandemic, I hate just sitting and watching TV and doing nothing. I mean, that's not doing nothing because it's relaxing and I don't know. There's value in sitting and just
Well, there's value in TV.
There's
but we'll
value
get
in
to
TV.
that
I know.
another
I was
time.
going to say I have to be real careful about talking about the value of TV with you.
TV saved my life, but it's fine. Go on.
Okay. But I also like to move my hands and do something.
Yeah.
So I always, and this is,
You can't
again,
just sit still. I know
can't
this
just
because
sit
it
still.
drives your husband and children crazy.
Yes. So I just was like, what do I love to do? Well, I love to sew, right? So I got out my embroidery stuff, which I already have and I already know how to do. So like easy entry. And then I just have had a little project on the side and I'm just doing it literally for the sheer purpose of doing it. I have no idea what I'm going to do with all these little embroidery projects that I finish. They're florals. They're really lovely, actually.
Wonderful. Put them on a little pair of jeans or a white tee.
Well, no, like it's, yes,
I
but
don't
it's like on its own piece of fabric.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Frame it?
That's well, I don't know.
don't know.
I know. Well, that's the thing. It literally, and for me, this is like a huge thing. I'm like, I'm just doing it because I enjoy the process.
You
and
should
who
do
knows what I'm gonna
napkins, linen
Okay.
napkins, and then you can.
I should.
I don't know.
I do have some plain vintage linen napkins. I'm going to pull out the napkins.
But
But
for like Thanksgiving, you could have like these intricate napkins that people wipe their gravy faces off
I
with.
know. But I won't care
You
because
won't? Even
no.
if there's cranberry on it.
You
and
know
it
what?
Stains it.
I am also a big believer of just use the stuff you have. If you have it, don't save the nice stuff.
I know.
Like I bring out the china that we got for our wedding because why? I don't know.
Yeah, why not?
But
Start
we use
using
it.
it.
Yeah,
Burn
I
the
use it with my
expensive
kids.
candle. I'm all the same thing.
Use all the stuff. Anyway, that's a whole nother. Again,
No,
another
but it
topic.
has to do with this hobby. It's like
It's just
stop
live
waiting.
intentionally. Don't wait for some big
Yeah.
occasion. Just do it now.
That's how I feel.
Just do it now.
It's like I play the piano very mediocrely. I like playing the piano. I like piano music. I got all this piano music out and I plunk around on it. Is it great? No.
Who cares?
I love it. And it was really cute because the other day, I usually do it when my kids are not home, which is a lot. The other day, like Hugh came down, and he's 17. He's like, Mom, you're getting so good. And he just meant like, you're getting better.
Yeah,
like,
because you're practicing.
you're practicing.
And how do you feel after?
I feel like good.
Well, that's okay. So
Because
that,
you know what?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Sometimes I pound it out on the piano.
Yeah.
And it feels good.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then it's like creating something, and I just think, I don't have to hit all the notes.
No, because
doesn't
there's
have to
no
be
judgment.
perfect.
Well, that's
Yeah.
with my sewing. Like honestly, if I do something, I'm like, there's no judgment. I'm not doing it for anyone. I'm just,
I just
doing
think
it
that
just
there's
for the
such
pleasure.
value of it. And like, honestly, like I'm not trying to put like a nice little bow on this, but like that conversation about, I don't know what I like, what should I do? I really wanted to solve that for her. It really unsettled me because I feel like, oh my gosh, just the things that I love has brought me a career, has brought me joy, has brought me stress relief, has like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Living intentionally and just like doing the things that you love, no matter what comes out of it, but just knowing what you love has brought me so much like just joy and like a sense of like calm of like, oh good, I'm living a life that I want to create because I'm choosing it. So the idea that somebody doesn't know how to choose that gives me anxiety.
Well, and I think you just said the key. The key is how does it make you feel?
Yeah.
And so you have
Follow
to try. So sometimes you have to try different things to figure out, okay, this is what is centering and calming and good, and that's what I'm going to do.
So quick before we go, something that you tried that you'll never do again.
Oh, easy. Knitting.
Oh.
Knitting. I made a hat, like I made a baby hat. I've made a baby sweater.
You're done.
I finished it. I gave my things back to my dear friend who is a phenomenal knitter. And I said, teach someone else. I'm done. I'll tell you what, I think it gave me arthritis because I'm a little uptight sometimes. And I was knitting hard. My stitches were tight.
Yeah.
And it didn't give me the pleasure that the other things that I did. And I said, unfortunately, I don't have time for this. This is a great thing that you do. I love it. It's beautiful. And I'm going to pass on that.
So sometimes it's messy.
Sometimes, and you work on it for a while and you think you're going to like it, but it's okay if you're like, nope. And then just pass it on like I did. I literally had skeins of yarn and because I love fibers.
Skeins?
Skeins?
I don't know.
They're skeins.
I've never heard that.
Oh, it's a skein of yarn. When you go and see the bundles of yarn.
Puff. It's a puff.
No, it's a
yarn.
skein. Anyway, so I gave her back all the yarn, all the needles, all the patterns and said, there you go.
You Marie Kondoed it. You thanked it for
I
trying
did.
to spark joy. It doesn't
It
spark
did not
joy.
spark joy.
And you let it go.
I did. So it's okay. And I don't count that as a failure.
No, not at all.
Because if you gave me knitting needles, I could probably figure it out again. But I won't. I probably could.
The Lisa Show is a production of BYU Radio. This week, our show is produced by Lisa Valentine Clark and McKay Menden. If you want to continue the conversations we started, please join our group on Facebook called The Lisa Show Listener Community. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We would really appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. Thank you for listening to The Lisa Show.